Hey guys, Ranchin here, bringing all another StarCraft commentary. Going to be bringing you a game from the Shinhan Bank Pro League Round 4, of course played on the 11th of May 2009. That was today, in fact, for me anyway, as I'm commentating this. It's going to be between Hite Sparkyz, or Hite Sparkyz, formerly Woongjin Stars, versus Woongjin Stars. We have a pretty good matchup right off the bat. We're going to have Leta against Guemchi. And I think this could be a pretty good matchup. Guemchi, kind of an up-and-coming protoss for the Woongjin Stars. I've been playing pretty well overall, has impressed me quite a lot. And on the opposite side, of course, you have Leta, the monster midget of awesome. Hasn't been as much of a monster midget of awesome lately, but, you know, wasn't as dominating in the Winners League as he was in the Pro League, but we're going to see whether he gets his fire back or not. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. This is going to be on Heartbreak Ridge, 2-player map, and honestly I really like this map. It's a 2-player map, long distance between the places, and I'm going to babble more about it as soon as I get positioned that away. We're going to have at 9 o'clock, that is the far left, Leta as the red terran, that means at the right. We're going to have at the 3 o'clock Guemchi as the purple / violet / pink / whatever the hell that color is, protoss. So yeah, Heartbreak Ridge, 2-player map, as has been said already a million times. Rather long distance between the bases. You got a small choke point outside of your main into your natural with huge choke point outside. You got a couple of buildings around, especially at the upper right and the lower left. You got minerals. You got neutral buildings as well as small mineral patches that can be mined out to get some forces out there. Tosses have been doing very well against Terrans on this map, so been winning mostly so far. Terrans, you got to take advantage of the ridges because the entire middle of the map you have 2 pathways you can take alongside a double gas, double mineral expansion that you can take in the middle, and around that you got 2 pathways that you can take with a bunch of ridges, and it's ridges that if Terrans can hold with tanks, should be able to do pretty well, but it's difficult to hold, and if Tosses can rush them, take the positioning, they're going to be in a pretty good position themselves, so it's kind of tough in that regard, but I'm expecting mostly pretty standard play. Guemchi just putting on the pylon now. Gonna see the gateway up soon, not expecting any sort of funky stuff, really, from these guys. At least not quite. Yeah, we're gonna see one of these players to do something funky, but no, never mind. Leta going for refinery. Think that refinery went right after the barracks. I'm not quite sure. On the opposite side, assimilator and gateway coming up. Not in that order, actually. So yeah, just these 2 players impress me a lot. Leta's best matchup is not really against Protoss. It's his worst matchup, but still it's a matchup that he does very well. None of his matchups are under 50, so he's overall very, very solid player. So score now coming up for Guemchi here. Guemchi hasn't played so much, so you know when players are really fresh out and haven't played a lot of games, you don't really pay much attention to their numbers. Whether they win a crap load or lose a crap load, it's when they've played up to at least up close to 100 games that you can really start paying attention to their stats. But really, their stats becomes what they are. Okay, Guemchi gonna plant a preemptive pylon at the upper right. That's just to spot to make sure that he knows if any minerals are being mined at the location, whether Leta is going to go for some sort of sneak in. Both players sending out scouts now. Leta has already his quite a bit early, setting outside. There is one zealot there. Going to see whether it manages to block off the ramp. Most likely, no, Leta's actually going to get the scout. Takes 1 hit from the zealot, but he's going to get the scout inside. Going to be just fine. Going to scout out, should be able to run around there being irritating for a while, but the first goon is going to be out soon for Guemchi, so we're going to see how successful he is with that. Leta has his first factory up. We're going to see whether he goes for 1 factory expand. I'm going to see whether he tries to get some vultures out, where to go for the quick tank and then expand. It's not expecting 2 fact form from him, at least not now. This, with a long distance between the maps, you can play between the bases, and the fact that Leta has the scouting information, he can play safe and go ahead and get his expansion up safely. First Zealot is going to go ahead and pressure for Dragoon, also now for Guemchi to kill that SCV. SCV is going to spot the preemptive pylon, but not going to be able to do too much. 3 Marines and SCV are going to be able to fight off this Zealot, and Probe just has to kill the Zealot to make sure that it doesn't lose anyone. All Marines almost killed, but no, that's going to happen. They're going to fall back to the safety of the building placement. That's very smart, I gotta say, from Leta, just placing the buildings so that the Marines can instantly run out. Zealot is going to be pushed back. We're going to see whether they actually lose that Zealot or not. Zealot might actually survive. Zealot is going to follow it until to the doom. SCV! Haha! SCV gets the kill. That's hilarious. Second Dragoon also, I'm going to see whether Guemchi actually decides to pressure here. Robotics facility coming up, so he's going to be going for some Reaver harass. He did get the scout going, so I'm expecting robotics support before the observatory. Barracks now being put down at the choke to block it off. That's pretty popular for turns to do. Probe almost getting killed there, so Guemchi has to be careful to keep them alive. SCV is now going to get caught by the Dragoon and going to be pushed back, so Leta's not going to continue getting the scout information. He had the initial scout, but probably has not seen that robotics facility, so does not quite know what's coming his way, so really should be putting down engineering very soon alongside turrets just in case that's what's going to be coming his way. Second factory going down, I believe. Actually the command center, so he's going to float that up. Could have built a little bit closer, I believe, in my opinion, but what do I know? I'm not a pro player. Tank out, so no vultures out so far. We're going to see whether Leta goes for that. Okay, observatory first. Wow, I'm reading everything completely wrong today. Guemchi going to get the observatory first, because he did get his troops inside, but didn't get a full scout, so he doesn't know whether Leta going for an expansion or something a little bit more aggressive, so he's just going to be safe. Also going to put down his Nexus. Second factory now coming up for Leta. He's just producing tanks so far. Probably going to get siege if it's not already ready. Probe going to go out there, going to try to spot from the high ground what's there, but he's definitely sees the barracks patrol and not much else. Don't think he actually sees those forces on the ground, not quite sure, but if he does, he definitely doesn't see the buildings, so he's going to take a little while to spot for the command center to come out. Leta, wow, okay, Leta going for some very, very cheesy, putting down a building. Very okay. I thought that was like him putting down a building in a very cheesy position inside of Guemchi's base, but no, exactly. That's actually during his own base, and didn't quite see what building that was because it didn't show the first-person view at the bottom, and I didn't quite see that what that was. Engineering bay now also coming up. Guemchi meanwhile on the opposite side, getting his second barracks. I almost thought that Leta was trying to put down a proxy barracks or something. That would have been very, very aggressive for him, and not quite sure if that would have paid off. First observer now out, so Guemchi's gonna float that away. Gonna take a little while to get there, but Guemchi gonna spot that contingent of forces. There are 4 Marines alongside 3 tanks. If Leta has siege, Guemchi could be in a little bit of trouble. He has quite a few Dragoons already. He's going to put himself in a position where he can block it off. Leta also now has vultures that he's going to plant mines around his natural expansions choke. First, the SCVs is going to come in, spot the SCVs. I'm going to see whether Leta decides to push or not. Robotic support actually ready now for Guemchi, so he's going to have some Reavers out soon enough. Probably getting a shell now first. 6 Dragoons at the choke ready to defend, so the tanks, not quite sure if he has siege or not. Has 2 vultures alongside, so maybe he went for the mines instead of going for the siege mode. He's actually going to push this in. Gonna go with vultures, try to plant in some mines. 1 mine did go down, gonna pop up. Oh, almost getting hit there, but not too much damage. The Marines are gonna push in first. Tanks not really in a position to push in. I think Leta at this point gonna push back, not gonna push this in because far too many Dragoons ready to defend him. Starport with control tower now up, so we're gonna see some drop tech up for Leta. Leta probably thinking of doing some vulture traps to try to do some economic damage, and that could actually be very smart for him because he's pressuring here at the front. So if he moves back with some vultures at the back, he could be able to catch him off guard. Gonna move in with a couple of vultures, delay a little bit of mining. I think he got 1 or 2 probes there, but the tanks being shelled a little bit, doesn't have siege. So he's number 1 tank goes down, 1 Marine there, vulture there in position as well. There are some mines, but the observer in the air, those mines are not going to be very effective. So Guemchi is going to manage to defend this. Leta really should have had the dropship out a little bit sooner than he has now, but Guemchi does have most of his Dragoons defending his choke, so if Guemchi does not spot this dropship, Leta should be able to get a drop off fairly soon. Now he's going to get 4 vultures right in there. Just going to have to be very careful not to get spotted by those forces. Actually not going to get spotted, so the drop is going to come in safely. Meanwhile, the main forces of Leta, those tanks and Marines, are going to move back. Finally, Dragoons are moving back in position. 1 Reaver though to defend them. We're going to see whether Reaver gets picked off or actually manages to defend. Reaver takes a couple of shots, managed to take away 2 vultures there. Vultures, the building placement so good there for Leta. Knew that for the Guemchi, I'm sorry, Leta knew that Leta might actually come in with some vulture harass. Vultures not managing to reach the probe line. Reaver in time to help defend, and now Dragoons are moved in position. So this harassment of Leta's, this drop being completely ineffective. Leta now got to feel the pressure a little bit. Both players on 2 bases so far, and Leta hasn't done any sort of economic harassment. Guemchi actually now picking up his 3rd at the north, at the upper right. and might actually get a decent economic advantage. Second engineering bay also coming up now for Leta, apparently. I believe he already had one. He already has one there, so the second one's going to come up just to help defend his choke. First Wraith now actually out for him as well, help take things out. Leta has spotted this upper right, going to start shelling it with some vultures, but there is a shuttle there in position. I believe it has a Reaver, but there are mines there, so Guemchi has to be really careful. Putting up the Reaver instantly, instantly picking it up as soon as he puts it down, as soon as he spotted the mines. He knows he doesn't want to lose his Reaver to a couple of mines. That would be very, very bad mistake that people like me would make. Leta is going to hang around there with his vultures, not going to be able to do too much damage. Also, probe being put there by Guemchi, so the vultures not going to be able to move into their natural, do any sort of harassment. Wraith still just around there, probably going to be used for spotting once Leta decides to maybe go for tank drops. More gateways now being added by Guemchi, so he's going to stick to his tech route, the one he has, just get a bunch of Dragoons. Probably going to add Forge and Citadel of Adun soon to get the Zealot speed, because soon enough he's going to need those Zealots as soon as Leta has a large tank number. Now Reaver and Dragoons are going to move out to help defend this upper right. Several Dragoons and Reaver in play, so that's not going to allow Leta to do any sort of harassment. Leta at this point really, I think, should think of getting his own expansion soon, because he's going to be a little bit under now economically.